Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. Let's get into the price action and see what's going on. As we talked about in the previous video, we are still looking for that potential of this as a fourth wave and then looking for a fifth wave still to the downside to come towards this 25.525 to this 25.089. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can look at this, and really for as long as we stay below this zone of this 27,666.95, so we can look for this possibility of continuation to the downside here in this fifth wave. Now, one way we were talking about this was potentially being in a triangle. We were treating this as A, B, C, looking for a D wave to the downside. Now, we were talking about this area here as a 0.618 towards this 26,707. So we did actually hold above this B wave low. So this is still viable as a triangle. And what we could still argue is that we have A, B, and C here. And we could actually be looking for another three-wave move to the upside before continuation to the downside. Now, if this is a triangle, what we'd be looking for is a couple of things here. What we'd want to see is a five-wave move develop first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'd want to see a three-wave move down and then another five-wave move to the upside. So we have some interesting levels here. This 27,016 to this 26,992 is actually a 0.618 of the previous D wave here. Now, this orange area here is actually a 0.618 of the previous C wave. So this little area here is going to be in relation to the C wave, and then this yellow area here is in relation to this D wave. So what I'm looking for here is the potential that we could see ABC into this and then actually reject in a bigger way. Now, confirmation of this as a triangle would only really come by completing a three-wave move here and actually breaking the origin of the move down towards this zone here of this 25.813. That's what we'd be looking for as that potential for, confirming that this has been a triangle. And what we'd want to see to the downside then is basically looking for the structure to then develop a stronger five-wave move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking for that lower target that we discussed. Now, if we are looking to break down there, we could also look to potentially even come back down and retest this area of this 24,594 as a 50%. Alternatively, we do have some other targets here which are interesting. This 25,200 would be quite an interesting one in regards to retest of some previous highs, as well as that we do have this lower range here of this 24,681. So if we are rather discussing this as a five-wave move and saying that we possibly could be looking to break down already, I still haven't invalidated the idea of this being a 1-2-1-2, but really we still need to see this move start to break down in a bigger way. Now, the way that you would have to potentially argue that this next bit is playing out is either that we have something like this, where this is 1-2-1-2, and for as long as we stay below this 26,977, that would still be valid. Alternatively, what you could argue is that within this count, what we've had is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as a diagonal pattern. So this is one way that I'm looking at it. What we'd then be looking for is a three-wave move to the upside, which fails to actually break this 27,181. Now, this would be an interesting zone because we do have this trend line over here, which was offering us some support and resistance. A move back into this could actually signal that possibility of this third wave. But what we'd want to see here is if we are in a third of a third here, what we would then want to see is this volume to start to pick up on the downside here. We want to see this volume starting to increase and starting to get bigger than the volume that we had before it, if this is the case, within this count, saying that we have a third wave. We want to see nice strong volume come in as the price moves down. So the other way that we were discussing this move was actually looking for the potential that instead of having this as a breakdown, what we were looking for was the potential that this could actually be looking to break to the upside. So the way we were talking about this move actually coming to the upside here was looking at this in two ways. We were talking about the potential of either the structure being something like this, where we could actually be looking to form a C wave for a flat correction, in which case what we're looking for is a nice strong structure to the upside in a five-wave move. Now, we don't have this currently. There is potential here, but we need to see that follow through. Otherwise, it becomes more likely that, we're just in this triangle idea here, and then we're still going to break to the downside. But for as long as we remain above this low here of this 25,811, we can argue potentially we could be looking for this move to possibly develop. Now, we're talking about a couple of ways that this could be playing out, and we were talking about the potential of forming a diagonal pattern to the upside. This is technically still possible, but what we would have to do is then treat this as a diagonal for an A wave. We'd be looking for a B and then looking for a C. So ideally what we're looking for here is a 3-wave move to the upside, which takes this wave 1 and fails to actually push above this 28,256. So we'd want to see this become 1, 2. We'd want to see another 3-wave move here, not crossing this 28,256, ideally crossing the top of this wave 1, looking for a 4, and then looking for a 5 to the upside. So this would be looking to basically form a contracting diagonal in a wedge pattern here. And what we'd want to see is this continue to develop in 3 waves. Now, the problem with this is it is looking, this bit here, like I said, potentially we can argue that we have something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The problem I have with this is that the 3rd wave here didn't actually cross this peak of this volume candle here. So what I would want to see ideally would actually be this crossing above this high. So it is possible, but technically speaking, we need to see the price actually follow through. Now, if this is looking to break to the upside, we can't cross this 26,369, otherwise this would invalidate the idea of having this as a wave 2 in this area. Now, the other way we were discussing this was actually saying that we could have had something like this, where this becomes 1, 2. So this is still possible here, and what we could be looking for is still the potential, like I said, that if we want to treat this as a diagonal pattern here, what we need to do is actually maintain this low now and start to move away. Technically speaking, we could come down one more time, but we wouldn't want to cross this 26,361. If we stay above this point, potentially what we could start to see is a bigger 5-wave move develop here, where we see something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then possibly form another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that would tie into the idea of this move extending out and becoming a bigger move, because basically the target area here that we'd be looking for would be this 1618, which is sitting here towards this 29,745. So there is quite a way to go here, and we need to get back above some important levels that we have lost in order for this to play out, but we need to be aware that this is a potential. Now, what I'm being cautious of here is that this could also just be a corrective move to the upside. So we're talking about that possibility of either having an X wave here, or alternatively, this move also possibly even being a WXYXZ, where we're looking for a corrective move to the upside here. So because of that, we were looking at this possibility where this could be ABC. So this is still possible, and what we were looking for was actually the possibility for, as long as we hold this X wave, to push up one more time. But we actually broke down below this. So now the way that I'm looking at this is we need to be cautious that we don't rather have something like this, where this is the W wave, this is the X, and this is an A, this is a B, and then we're looking for this C wave still. So this C wave could potentially look to push us up here towards this zone of this 27,460. So this is quite an interesting level here, because if we did move into this zone, obviously we would have a double top here at this, triple top possibly at this point. If we want to count those as 2 touches, we'd have a triple top here, and that would actually tie into that 1-to-1. Now that would also potentially bring us into the 0.618 of this Y wave, which would be ideally where we want to see this move into as a Y wave. That would be normally a minimum that we look for in the move to the upside. So we'd be on the lookout for the possibility of this as a corrective move to the upside. And if we did get this as a corrective move up in a WXY, this would indicate that we are going to see another low come in place in relation to this one here. So we'd have to just keep an eye on this. Obviously, it is always possible these moves can find support above and become a bigger correction. If this is a bigger X wave here, we could actually have this move to the upside as an A. This could then become a B, and then we get a C wave to the upside, which could still look to bring us into the higher end of this channel here. Now, if we're going to be talking about that, we do have some interesting zones that I'm keeping an eye on here. So I'm going to just turn off the counts now, and I'm going to just put on these volume profiles here. So within this range here, it's quite interesting because we do have a level here which we could actually see this price action move into. So if we are looking at this as a smaller range that we previously had here, we do have this value area low, which is sitting here towards this 27,221. So now this would be quite an interesting area, because if we are looking at this as potentially coming back up here, we could actually see further rejection off here. We can see we had it once. Now, alternatively, if we just treat this as a range here, we can also see we have a point of control, which is sitting right in this previous white box that we had here, which acted as resistance. So a move higher up towards this zone of this 27,600 could also play out, and we could see that as a WXY, where this becomes W, X, and Y. Now, if we're looking at that possibility of a triangle, what I'd be on the lookout for is these lower two value area lows, where we could see a move up towards this point of this 27,000 as a possible ABC for the E wave, and then break down. Or alternatively, if it does look to push up a little bit higher, we could also see a move into this zone of this 27,198. Which we could also tie into that. It would still make the move valid, and we could actually see a retest of the center line. So this is why I'm keeping an eye on these areas for that possibility of continuation. Yeah. So if we do see something like that, what that could then mean is that we still have an additional drop here for that fifth wave. However, if we do start to push up higher, this area here towards this zone of this 28,348 would become a very interesting area indeed then, because we can see that we do have this point of control of this entire range in this area. So if we did move up into this zone, it would be interesting to see whether we actually get a correction up here where this becomes WXY. Like I said, looking for that possibility of a push to the upside. That 1-to-1 would bring us into this range, and then we look for that possibility of an additional push to the downside here. So that is that's one of the things that we need to be aware of if we're looking at this as a possibility of a corrective pattern to the upside. Once again, we do also have this value area high, which is sitting here towards this 28,725, and then of this smaller range here towards this zone of this 29,046. So this one here would be quite interesting, because we would have these highs here, and this could actually set us up for a swing failure if we do move up into the zone, coming back up here into this breaking down one more time. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this on the bigger picture here, just keeping an eye on these levels for any interaction on the way that we do move to the upside here. Now, we need to be aware that obviously we could see a bigger move to the upside here, which would be it wouldn't really tie into any of these levels, but we could still see this play out. So really, until we take this low, we need to be cautious of that possibility of a break to the upside here. It is building above this level. So, sometimes what we can get with these moves is we form 1s and 2s, and then we start to get that structure actually play out. If we did move up higher here, a particular area of interest to me would be this 786, which is sitting up here towards this higher range of this 29,813. Now, if we did move up here, this would also tie into actually coming back into this volume area high, or this point of control, which is also sitting here towards this 29,280. Okay, so if we move across here and we look at the CVD, what we can see here is that we do have actually a higher low that has been set, and within the perpetual CVD, we have a lower low. We can also see this in the aggregated spot CVD. So there is bullish divergence off these lows, which is indicating that there is absorption taking place. Now, we can also see here this yellow line, we have the same idea going on here, where we have a lower low here and a higher low here. So, in the short term, we do have this bullish potential. But now what I'm just being mindful of is, if we do have a move to the upside here, and we actually take this high, we would then form bearish divergence as long as CVD remains below this high here. So what we need to be aware of is that even if we do get that WXY, so if we said this was W, this is X, we got A, B, and we're looking for that C, that would then potentially set us up for that divergence here on the shorter time frame. Alternatively, if we do break up above this high over here, which is sitting at this 27,478. What this would then also tie into is the fact that from further back here, we would then have a higher low. And if CVD is below this point, what this would mean is a lower low, which would be, once again, bearish divergence. And then finally, even if we do push up above this zone and CVD comes above this level, we need to bear in mind that until CVD actually comes back above this high here, so this high here, we would still have that potential to form bearish CVD on this. So we need to just be aware there is some, on the shorter term there is some bullish CVD playing out, but we need to see whether this actually does get the price action pushed to the upside. And if it does push up to these points and we start to take these highs, I would be very cautious of the idea that, CVD fails to actually push back above the previous high points here, and then we could actually see this roll over. So we need to just be aware of that. If we're looking for this fourth, that would tie into that idea of the triangle. Price possibly comes up here, just takes this high here. That would be the C wave high, which is fine within a triangle. And then we could actually see price reject from that point, because basically price makes a higher high, CVD makes a lower high, and then we see that break to the downside. Obviously, this is subjective and we have to wait and see how the moves play out. But, this is just trying to give a little bit of a guide to what I'm looking out for. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Everyone have a great day. See you in the next one. Take care.